Right, I'm delighted to be joined by one of the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioners of all time, Gracie. I want to talk all about your career, but first you've got a book coming out, The Warrior Mindset, The Tower of a Champion. It's going to be very exciting. So let's go right to the start of the book. I know that Tom Hardy has written the foreword, so tell me a little bit about that and what he's like to train.
I mean, he's super motivated. He fell in love with jiu-jitsu a few years ago, and he's one of the persons like he competed. He trained in one of my academies. He's became very passionate about the sport.
Yeah, and obviously you started putting this book together and it's going to be amazing. It's coming out this week, I believe. So can you tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about the process of writing this book?
That was something that I always wanted to do. It's quite interesting it's a challenge to write a book, if you never wrote a book before. I had help with Richard, a great person. But it's something that I want to tell my story. Just a story about trying to, the mindset that made me who I am. Maybe trying to give some people advice. If I can help change people's life, that was the main thing regarding the book. It's not just about my story. It's about the mindset behind my competitor career. What made me who I am.
Absolutely. It says there's going to be secrets and lessons from competing at the top level. Can you give us some teasers about what's going to be in the book, the sort of stuff that people are going to be excited to read?
There's a lot of description of the fight, the challenges that I had fighting. I think if you think about fighting, is a big challenge that you have to face mentally. Have to the moment they have to face other opponents, not just in jiu-jitsu. I fought into MMA, and the mindset behind what it means to be, to trying to be a champion. When everything seems like very dark, how do you face a challenge like that? And I think that's very important because how you can face the fears you have inside your head when something is like telling you, don't do it, it's too dangerous, or it's not going to work. And then you have something deep inside you that pushes all through that. So it's pretty interesting.
I can imagine. I mean, you've had such an exceptional career. When you were writing it all down and reliving all these memories, how was it? Was it crazy to put all this stuff onto pages and think that this is my story?
It definitely it messed up with your emotional, you kind of you're reviving things that it was like long in the past. So you're almost like you're living them again. So
I can imagine. I can imagine. I mean, you obviously come from one of the greatest combat sports families of all time. Can you tell me a little bit about what you write about them in the book, and then just about your experience growing up in such a legendary family, what that was like?
yeah, I try to put it down what it means to be a Gracie, like to be part of this family, like over 100 years of generations of fighters. My grandfather pretty much he developed the art together with his brothers and throughout the family. So what does it mean to be the creator of a dynasty, which that was what my grandfather was. He created a dynasty of fighters, and it's I think we are that there has never been a family like ours ever. It's generations of fighters dedicated to the art, competing, developing the art, personal developing, and see what we created. Look at jiu-jitsu worldwide. It's the biggest martial arts in the world. We revolutionary martial arts. After my family, it completely changed the idea of martial arts. And it's just the idea of to fight from the bottom. It's just when you think about fighting, you want to be on top. You want to be dominating your opponent. The idea of fighting, winning from your back, that's like, it changed everything.
Yeah, it most certainly did. It's crazy to think how many of you there are in this family that have all competed at such a high level. What are some of your favorite memories with your family?
It's the favorite memories was the time that I spent with my uncles and my cousins, and the mentality that they trying to insert in your mind, like you can be a champion, like it's the mental strength when they tell you like you can be the best in the world, because they know that there were many before us, my uncles, cousins, grandfathers. They were like the best fighters in the world. And when you feel that you're part of that, and them telling you you can be that, I think that's special.
Absolutely. I mean, you've had so many incredible memories, and I want to touch on some of them now. I mean, your match with Buchecha, two of the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioners of all time, going toe-to-toe. It was something that was so important for your legacy, and you ultimately won that. Tell me about that match, what it was like going into it and actually competing against him and ultimately getting that win.
It was a massive challenge because when I fought Buchecha, I had stopped competing jiu-jitsu for quite a few years, and there was a possibility that people would consider him better than me. That that he matched my world champions, and we had a fight before. There was a draw, and I wasn't in a good state when I had the fight, and we drew. So I was getting to the end of my career, and there was a lot of talk that Buchecha is better than Roger. And for me, that was like I couldn't accept that. So coming out of sort of retirement and fighting someone 9 years younger than you, like 20 kilos heavier, a little bit less than 20, like 16. It's not easy, much faster. So if I would have lost that fight, I would be forever considered number two. Everything I built over the years, building my legacy, everything that I believed, I put in the line against one fight, against someone like all the odds was against me. I think a lot of people was the first time since I was my early 20s that I had a fight being the underdog. So yeah, that was probably one of the biggest challenges I have mentally getting to that fight.
Absolutely. You've had a lot of great rivalries. Obviously, Ronaldo, Jacare Souza was another fantastic rivalry of yours. Can you tell me a little bit about those matches? Because you faced off on more than one occasion.
Yeah, me and Jacare, we had probably the most famous fight in the whole history of jiu-jitsu. We fought in 2004. That was our second fight, and I broke his arm. I gave him an arm lock. He refused to tap, was close to the end of the match. And I broke his arm, and he ended up escaping, and there was 1 minute left, and he refused to tap, and the referee didn't stop the fight. So there was, very emotional to fight someone, try to fight someone with like a broken arm. And yeah, and we faced a few times after that. He was by far the toughest opponent I faced. We fought, I think, 5 times. So it was never easy.
Yeah, and obviously you achieved so much in jiu-jitsu, but in MMA as well. Beating Pasternak to win the one championship light heavyweight title. Tell me about that moment. That must have been insane for you.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome, actually. Just the fact that you win a belt, you're the world champion. It was a pretty good. I had a good run in MMA. I almost like it's traditional, the path of every Gracie. At some point in their lives, you will have to do MMA. There was something that was behind my ear since I was a kid. I'm like, if you choose that path to be a Gracie fighter, down the line, inevitably you're gonna have to do MMA. And to have my last fight in for one championship was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I can imagine. Obviously, the Gracie family have done so many amazing things in the world of jiu-jitsu, in the world of MMA. Outside of the Gracie family, who do you think has the greatest jiu-jitsu in MMA?
Ooh, outside the Gracie family, I would say uh, there was a lot of jiu-jitsu fighters. They went to compete in MMA. I think maybe Damian Maia, who fought in UFC, is a very high-level jiu-jitsu black belt. Like he's a world champion, and I think he had the most fights in the UFC. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he fought like a lot. And I mean, I don't think he's competing anymore, but I'll say from all of them that I watched competing, he demonstrated the highest skill level using jiu-jitsu in MMA. He was, a lot of his fights was like purely jiu-jitsu, and he was dominating them all. He tapped Charles Sonnen when they fought it with a triangle choke while Charles Sonnen was on his best. So he demonstrated like very highly skilled.
Absolutely. And you've done so many amazing things we've spoken about. What do you think is the craziest story you've had from your entire combat sports career?
It was two. when I fought Jacare and that I broke his arm and we carry on fighting, that was pretty insane. If you think of, you break someone's arm, he refused to tap, and the fight is still carry on. And my last fight against Buchecha, like coming out of retirement to fight someone much heavier and younger than you, that was not easy.
Yeah, I can imagine. It was an amazing achievement for you to beat Buchecha. It was absolutely fantastic. But thank you so much for giving me some time. I really appreciate you talking all about the book, Tom Hardy, all your amazing MMA memories. It's been fantastic. But before I let you go, is there anything else that you would like to mention?
Buy the book. Don't forget to buy the book. Yeah, it's interesting. I did the voice recording on my voice, so that was pretty challenging as well. Usually you have someone who speak like perfect English, like a perfect vocabulary, and we decided to do it on my voice, so that was pretty cool.